A very good evening to you. Welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
Hello there, thanks for joining us. Here are tonight's main stories.
I am cancelling the rest of the HS2 project.
Rail betrayal. The Prime Minister confirms that the northern leg of the high-speed rail project has been scrapped. Leaders in our region say it's an outrage.
We knew this was coming to some degree, but to have it clarified is a bit of a sucker punch, and it just smells of blatant electioneering.
No HS2 then, but Rishi Sunak says billions of pounds will be pumped instead into other transport projects across Yorkshire. I'll have the details shortly.
Also coming up on the programme.
The father of a student from Sheffield who took his own life calls for more support for youngsters after they move away from home.
Mars asked for help multiple times, and rather than actually find out what help was needed, they were just offering him a disjoint, confusing system that didn't work.
Pain relief. More people can now get the shingles vaccine after jabs were extended to younger age groups.
And Spherely Something, how an art director from Sheffield played his part in creating a stunning light show for U2 at this Las Vegas attraction.
Good evening. First tonight, it was billed as one of the key projects behind the government's promise to level up the north. But today, after much speculation, the Prime Minister scrapped the northern leg of the high-speed rail scheme, HS2.
Today, Rishi Sunak said he wants to stop the runaway spending on HS2 and divert the cash instead into other transport projects. More on that a little shortly. But first, our political correspondent Charanpreet Kaur reports on the reaction to the Prime Minister's big speech.
First, it was an electric line from Selby to Hull. Next, HS2 to Leeds. Then a high-speed route across the Pennines, linking Bradford with Leeds and Manchester. All scrapped, and today, a new promise.
With our new Network North, you will be able to get from Manchester to the new station in Bradford in 30 minutes, Sheffield in 42 minutes, and to Hull in 84 minutes on a fully electrified line.
We all knew that HS2 would be cancelled today. What we don't now know is what the new Network North will offer and, crucially, when it'll be delivered. Sunak left his supporters smiling, but it was up to his Transport Secretary to flesh out the detail.
There have been so many promises to Yorkshire over the years. How do we know this isn't just going to be another failed one?
HS2 was not going to be coming, as the Prime Minister said, to this city for 20 years. There are now new commitments and new investments across the north, including to Bradford, to Leeds, to Sheffield.
Those cities have been let down in the past. Will they be let down again?
We have given them new commitments. I've spoken this morning to mayoral leaders in those parts of the country, as has the Prime Minister, and we'll be working with them over the coming months to deliver these projects.
The dates for delivery might still be up in the air, but the MP for Keighley was glad to get a look in.
We've seen the Prime Minister include Bradford within his speech, a commitment of £33 billion that is going into Network North to drive better connectivity across the east-west linkage that I have been advocating for. And I think this is a good announcement.
But in Bradford, people were less confident that the Prime Minister's words would translate to action.
Let's see what happens.
It's very important that we are able to move around.
To save 2 or 3 minutes, it's not worth all these millions.
Well, I think it's been a load of rubbish all along.
Network North would make it easier for the Prime Minister to get back to his Yorkshire constituency. But Rishi Sunak, the frequent flyer, isn't known for taking the train.
So, as you saw in Charanpreet's report there, instead of HS2, the Prime Minister is promising to spend billions on other transport schemes, branded Network North. It includes plans to electrify the Transpennine rail line to reduce journey times from Bradford to Manchester to 30 minutes and Sheffield to Manchester to 42 minutes. Along with a new railway station in Bradford, Mr Sunak promised a new £2.5 billion mass transit system for West Yorkshire. On the roads, a number of projects including a new Shipley bypass and the reopening of the Don Valley Railway line in South Yorkshire.
Well, John Hill is live in Leeds for us now. And John, this all feels very familiar, doesn't it? Talk of trams for Leeds again.
A tram for Leeds, Michael? Surely not. Well, in fact, you know, Leeds is in fact the largest European city not to have some kind of mass transit system, and that's why you get scenes like this. The evening commute, Kirkstall Road, one of the main arteries in and out of the city, congestion. But, well, we've had, as we say, plans before that have come and gone. The last one in 2005 when Labour scrapped that plan because of the cost. Today, though, Rishi Sunak says Leeds will get a tram. Well, we'll see. Sheffield, of course, has had a super tram for, well, almost 30 years. City leaders there are delighted with it. But city leaders here in West Yorkshire say the absence of one is holding this region back. Labour's West Yorkshire Mayor, Tracy Brabing, says they're getting on with the mass transit scheme regardless.
The money that has been spoken about from the podium is for many years' time, and unfortunately, I can't trust this government. We are getting on with the job. We are going to deliver a mass transit network for West Yorkshire, but it may not be with a Conservative government at the helm.
We know entire generations have been born, grown up and had their own kids with the promise of a super tram for Leeds swirling around the years. Look at these pictures of what the future was going to be. These from back in 2000. Well, this scheme for a tram for Leeds never came to pass, but the government says today that potentially there could be a tram system eventually linking Leeds and Bradford, Halifax, Huddersfield and Wakefield. But the key word there is potentially. If it does happen, it could be a long time, and that could mean also a lot of roadworks.
OK, John Hill, we'll see if and when that happens in Leeds. Thanks very much indeed.
Well, to some other news from our region now. A man has been charged with the murder of two men in Halifax. Police were called to Commercial Street in the early hours of Sunday after three men were attacked. 21-year-old Joshua Clark and 19-year-old Hader Shah both died in hospital. 19-year-old Rashane Douglas of Jade Place in Huddersfield has been charged with 2 counts of murder.
The family of a 22-year-old from Sheffield who took his own life say he died after medical staff failed to communicate. Miles Radley was living and studying away at university while being treated by a psychiatrist 60 miles back home. His family says the government should improve healthcare systems so that students like him don't get lost in the system. Katie Oscroft spoke to Miles's father, Keith.
One of his legacies is the love and care that he had for his friends and how much his friends cared about him as well. It's just really incredible that every picture you see of him is smiling.
Miles Radley was 22 and studying in Loughborough when his parents received an urgent call.
We drove down very quickly to Loughborough to where his flat was, and when we arrived there were police on the scene, and the first policeman said to us, "I'm sorry for your loss." Miles asked for help multiple times, and rather than actually find out what help was needed, they were just offering him a disjoint, confusing system that didn't work.
When Miles decided to join thousands of students opting to study away from home, his family gave their blessing, even though he was receiving help from a psychiatrist in Sheffield.
This is my review on Ice Age 4.
Their little boy had grown up and begun to deal with mental illness. He stayed with medical care in his hometown to avoid losing his place on a waiting list for treatment. The coroner at Miles' inquest said there'd been a lack of communication between the different places.
It was a concern that we had that he was away from us, and often we wouldn't hear from him for a while. But obviously as parents we have to learn to let go and allow him to discover life for himself, to manage everything.
Earlier this year, parents of students who took their own life went to Westminster to call for universities to have a legal duty of care to its young people. Amongst them, the mother of Oscar Carrick, who took his own life while studying in Sheffield 2 weeks after his 21st birthday.
We want that statutory duty care to oversee everything and to kind of pull everything together so that people kind of are safe when they go. You know, we want them to have fun, we want them to go have a great time, but we also want them to come back. If
there are other people like Miles around out there, then what's going to happen to them? What's going to happen to their families? It's impacted us horrifically. Pause over there.
The government says it is taking steps to ensure students don't fall between services, but Miles Radley was away from home and from doctors who knew him when he died. His father says the healthcare system needs to better protect people like him. Katie Oscroft, ITV News, Sheffield.
Such a heartbreaking story, and thank you so much to Miles's family for sharing their story. Now, picture someone with shingles, and you might think of somebody in their 70s or 80s, but actually the rates of shingles in younger adults is rising, and it's something the NHS is keen to stamp out.
Yes, as a result, thousands more people in our region are eligible for a free shingles vaccination.
Well, the condition can affect as many as 1 in 4 adults, and now one doctor from Harrogate has warned complications can get much more severe as people get older. Nick Smith reports.
As the weather gets colder and the evenings darker, the annual vaccination drive for things like flu and COVID get into full swing. And many local GPs are now urging those who are newly eligible to add the shingles vaccine to that list. Doctors like Jason Jones from Harrogate.
With shingles, you get a localised one, usually along a nerve line, with some blistering type rash eventually, but probably a few days before that, some pain, some burning, often a headache, generally unwell, and then the rash appears.
The shingles virus can have a lasting impact, and in some cases, it can even cause hearing loss and blindness. Robert Pearson caught it in his mid-60s, and while he made a full recovery, he says at the time it left him in agony for days on end.
I had shingles about 4 years ago. Started off with what I thought was a rash. The pain increased intensely over a week-long period, and the only way I can describe it, it's like having 1,000 cigarette burns and placed in sensitive areas across your body. There's nothing you can do for the pain.
The move to widen the vaccine cohort by NHS England has been welcomed by those supporting shingles sufferers, after trial data suggested it was safe in younger age groups.
It's a very good sort of vaccine because it's really just boosting the antibodies to chickenpox that you already have. So it's not going to cause you any kind of symptoms as such. And it just makes it much less likely that you will develop shingles yourself. The older you are, the nastier it can be.
My rehabilitation.
Loose Women star Janet Street Porter now ensures she gets her annual shingles vaccine after the virus kept her off the show for several days.
I can only say, based on my own experience, that if there is a vaccine that stops you going through that experience, take it.
And if uptake is higher, NHS officials hope it will further protect our older and vulnerable population from shingles' most serious effects. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Children at a school in West Yorkshire have been given tips on how to stay safe online from a former FBI agent. Pupils at Slathwaite Junior and Infant School in Kirklees were paid a visit by a former Special Agent Miguel Clark. He's previously worked on national security projects and defending the US against cyber intelligence threats.
We want to develop very good behaviors early on because the students that we have here right now are the users of the future. If we can instill good behaviors now, then we can hope for a better and more secure future. Be very aware of the things that you do online and just be prepared that what you intend may not be the actual outcome.
OK, let's get some sport now and salvation, perhaps, for Scunthorpe United.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Well, Chris joins us in the studio now. And Chris, some developments at the Iron this afternoon.
Yeah, you're right, Michael. Yeah, wearing solidarity in the colours tonight, wearing Scunthorpe United colours. This is the news fans have been waiting for. This afternoon it's been announced that a takeover has been agreed. Now, you remember last week that owner David Hilton said he would no longer fund the club and that he planned to relocate them to Gainsborough after this Saturday's game against Brackley. Well, today it was announced that Hilton has sold up to local businesswoman Michelle Harness, who's also a current director at the club. Now, in a statement, Harness thanked Hilton, saying he'd wiped off all the money he'd invested into Scunthorpe to allow this deal to go through. No word yet on whether Scunthorpe will be leaving Glanford Park.
So we've got good news for Scunthorpe fans, not such good news for Sheffield Wednesday.
Not at all, Lara. Yeah, it goes from bad to worse, I'm afraid, for Owls fans. Last night's defeat at West Brom means Wednesday have made their worst ever start to a league season. That's 120 years. Under fire boss Xisco Munoz changed the formation and many players for the trip to West Brom, but it failed to change the outcome. More misery for those travelling supporters who vented their fury at the owner and manager throughout the game. Wasn't a good night either for Huddersfield Town. Darren Moore's first defeat since taking charge was a chastening one. Michael Hellick's goal came too late at Birmingham. Now, Barnsley are turning into something of an enigma in League One. After a sluggish showing against Blackpool on Saturday, they were back to their brilliant best, putting 4 past Cambridge last night. That's 4 straight wins on the road for the Tykes, but just 1 league win at home since the opening day. Bradford City fans were singing "You're Getting Sacked in the Morning" to their own manager Mark Hughes after the Bantams' defeat at Tranmere. He wasn't sacked this morning, or this afternoon for that matter, but the pressure is now well and truly on. Mansfield Town remain one of 4 teams unbeaten throughout the top 4 divisions. The Stags drew 0-0 at home to Wrexham. And after being one of our only winners at the weekend, Harrogate lost at home to Wimbledon. And after a difficult start to the season, Doncaster have now won 3 of their last 4 matches. Mo Farrell and a Joe Ironside penalty seeing off Crawley at the Eco Power Stadium last night. And both Leeds and Rotherham are in championship action tonight.
Now, Chris, the Sheffield Tigers are going to have to work hard to win the Premiership title in Speedway, aren't they?
Yeah, not the ideal start to their bid to become champions for the very first time. The Tigers have an 18-point deficit to make up at Owlerton tomorrow night after the first leg down at Ipswich last night. Team boss Simon Stead insists that despite the 54-36 scoreline, the contest is far from over. So best of luck to them tomorrow.
Indeed, Chris. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bradford is celebrating its diverse communities by remembering the stories of those who came to the UK in search of a better future.
Yes, a new exhibition opens this evening celebrating the Windrush generation and marking more than 50 years since the Ugandan expulsion of Asian migrants.
Well, Holly Goodall is at Bradford Cathedral where the event is about to get underway. Good evening, Holly. What's the exhibition all about?
Well, it's really about preserving and sharing the stories of people who came to Bradford from different parts of the world, but all on journeys of hope, and that is the name of this exhibition. It's divided into 2 halves. Behind me, stories from the Windrush generation, who in June celebrated 75 years since their arrival in the UK, and stories from the Ugandan Asian community, who were forced to leave their country just over 50 years ago. And it's their history, culture and contributions which have helped shape Bradford of today. Well, Dr. Manoj Joshi helped to champion this exhibition, didn't you? Why was it so important to bring these stories to life?
Because it is a story of adversity and courage, that people came from Uganda as refugees and transformed their lives, and also the economic aspect of living and working in the United Kingdom. It's a phenomenally success story of making things happen and not being reliant upon the state, as it were.
Absolutely, all of their hard work.
Hard work. So the story is hard work, determination, putting education first, and giving and contributing in the work and life of the country in which we are living, and we are so grateful.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to bring in Nigel Guy, who's the director of the Windrush Generations UK. What was the contribution of the Windrush generation to the community here?
The contribution was vast. We're standing on their shoulders. I mean, from the contributions and all the work that they've done to help restore, rebuild Great Britain after the aftermath of World War II. I call it putting the great back into Britain. The Windrush generations took up the call from the British government to help and restore the UK. And even though some of them had 5-year plans, we're still here making the UK a vibrant place. And it's very important that we have these stories, untold stories especially, because we need to actually transfer those stories to the younger generation so they know how they have become from the journeys that people have made.
Well, thank you, both of you. The event will get underway shortly here, but there's still time to come down and see it for yourself. The exhibition's on at Bradford Cathedral until the 14th of November.
Holly, thank you. Live from Bradford Cathedral. Very interesting.
Now let's take you to the Las Vegas Strip for our final story tonight. Take a look at these pictures. This is the world's first fully immersive music venue. They call it the Sphere, and it's currently hosting U2 in concert. Well, the epic light show that you can see going on all around the audience was designed by the band's creative director of 3 decades, who just so happens to hail from Sheffield. Willie Williams has been planning this gig on the world's largest LED screen for the last 2 years.
Relief, I think, was the overwhelming feeling on night one, but also just incredibly proud. I never forget that, you know, I'm a lad from Sheffield, and there I am in this premier venue in Las Vegas, which is now the toast of the world. And I have no idea how I got from A to B, but yeah, I'm very happy I did.
I can see the Sphere from space. It has its own weather, fog and wind. Let's hope there's none of that in the forecast.
Good visibility on the horizon. TIRI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello, a very good evening to you. We started off rather cloudy during the course of this morning. A few brighter breaks for the afternoon. Despite the cloud cover, they're not spoiling Matt Patton's view very much at all, looking towards Kettlewell and of course the Coniston Pie, a beautiful landmark in the Yorkshire Dales. Weather photos at itv.com. And yesterday I did ask for your autumn scenes, and there will be a few more I'm sure over the next few days. It stays blustery, does go downhill tomorrow, turns wet and windy, but it will improve for the weekend and really becoming quite warm. So high pressure to the south for now, allowing for the stronger winds and the weather fronts to work around that high as we head towards Thursday and into Friday. But as this system nudges its way north, it will import that warmer air from the continent as we head into Saturday and Sunday. So overnight tonight, we do have a weather front clipping northern parts of the region. So at times for North Yorkshire, it will be cloudy with showery outbreaks of rain. And once more over the Pennines, more cloud, low cloud over the hills and the risk of showers. Otherwise, it's dry with variable cloud and slightly milder than last night. We got down into single figures last night. Many places will be just about in double figures tonight. 7:14 and 6:34 are your sun times for tomorrow. I think there will be a few showers for the morning, some low cloud over the hills, then a brief drier, brighter spell before it does turn unsettled from the west as we head into the afternoon, especially over the Pennines. There'll be some heavy pulses of showery rain, temperatures just above the average, and the winds once more becoming strong and gusty, especially for the evening. But that system will push through, and then it lingers as we head through into Friday, but pushing its way northwards and then importing that warmer air as we head into the weekend.
TIRI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thank you very much, Kerry. Staying warm, keeping it warm. Thanks for watching. That's all from us for now. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.